welcome to today's video. So I decided to talk about spiritual awakening rather than psychic abilities because I did some research and I was looking up psychic abilities, but it turns out I ended up finding spiritual awakening symptoms and what a spiritual awakening is. So that is what today's video is, and also this is the second video of the day. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know down below what phase you're at, where you're at, how far along you're at when it comes to your spiritual awakening, and let me know if you need a part 2, because I'm always down for making more content for all of you guys out there who are watching me, who watch me. What do you mean? Oh my gosh. Anyways, don't forget to enjoy today's video, and peace. Also, don't forget to watch my video earlier, and I'm gonna be doing a part 2 to my manifestation videos, so don't forget to watch out for that and go into more detail, because I feel like I need to go into more detail, which is why I'm gonna go into more detail in the second video. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. So let's talk about, I'm gonna be on my laptop as well, so let's just talk about what a spiritual awakening is, and let's talk about the fact that psychic abilities comes with the spiritual awakening. Like some symptoms of a spiritual awakening that also have to do with the psychic abilities. So basically the same thing, basically the same type of thing. I also like to use the word enlightenment now, enlightenment, rather than spiritual awakening, because I'm just more farther along on my path. So if you hear me say enlightened rather than spiritual awakening, it's because I prefer the word enlightened more over the word spiritual awakening, but I will use the word spiritual awakening once in a while, or I'll throw it in here and there, just let you know, okay? So what causes a spiritual awakening? Let's just talk about that for a second. And what causes it is triggered by something. Something in your life triggers you to wake up. And when you start to wake up, you might notice like major changes in your entire life. Like you might, like even at the beginning of the stages, like you'll notice these changes and it'll change your entire life. So you'll notice how you could go through a big major life event, like for instance such as an illness, a car accident, a divorce, a war, a pandemic, a quarter life or midlife crisis, mental health crisis, clinical depression, or even a near-death experience, or even multiple near-death experiences. And once that happens, that's something along those lines is what triggers your spiritual awakening. And once you are triggered to have a spiritual awakening, you'll want to learn more about the shit. You'll want to do more research. You'll want to know why this is happening. You'll be so confused at first that you won't even know, and then something kind of just pushes you to look at what spiritual awakening is, and then that's basically where you start. So these are some symptoms. So first, you will feel disconnected and detached from society. You will feel overwhelmed, confused, and you feel like everything in your thought will be true about life, and everything in your life was a whole entire lie, basically. Like you'll feel so connected from people and things that you used to enjoy, because you're now aware of these signs. You're now aware of the lies in society. And that's also what having psychic abilities is. Because not only once you start your spiritual awakening, but once you get to that point where your third eye starts to open up, you will start to go through these midlife crises and these weird times, and you'll see past all the illusions, and you'll be so aware of things. So the second thing is you've reevaluated your beliefs. So your belief system may not be the same exact way as it used to be. You may whether that means connecting deeply with a new religion or belief, or quitting your job and pursuing your real passion, your priorities are likely different now. So once you get to that, you reevaluate your belief system. Basically, that means like you might start looking into Buddhism, Hinduism, or you might just be like, I don't feel like I'm religious, but you might start to practice Buddhism and Hinduism. You might start practicing things along those beliefs, okay? And then your dreams become more vivid. Now, I'm going to be honest. People who are on the spiritual path are more likely to remember their dreams because they're vivid. They're so vivid that you're able to remember your dreams. And once you start to like ascend higher and higher, your dreams become so much more vivid that you're able to remember shit. You're able to pay attention to the shit. So I would say any normal person, anybody who's not enlightened, most likely will have dreams or not have dreams, and they won't remember them like a person who's on their spiritual path. So your dreams become more vivid, and not only is your waking life more vivid as a result of spiritual awakening, but your dream life may become more vivid too. Like, you may connect to your journey, may become more apparent as well. So like, you might start to connect with your dreams because like your angels are sending you signs in your dreams, and you're not only getting signs in the outside world, but you're getting signs in the 5D. And the 5D is basically the astral plane, the astral realm. And I'm going to talk about that in another video. But for now, we're going to keep going. So then you might start to experience more synchronicities and deja vu. So basically that means like if you frequently experience mind-blown synchronicities, like thinking about someone randomly and running into them the next day, or seeing angel numbers all the time, it's a sign you're on the spiritual path. And that means, and similar feelings of deja vu aren't uncommon either. So deja vu, synchronicity is basically the same thing. There's so many spiritual words that I also want to talk about in another video, so I'm going to do that as well. But you start seeing synchronicities, and you start to have this feeling that you have already been there, done that type of thing. And that's what a synchronicity is. So you'll start seeing that more. Your relationships begin to shift. So the people who you used to have in your life, you may kind of like fall off with them, and that's what's supposed to happen. So the people you used to be cool with, you might have this falling out with them to the point where like you feel like you guys don't fit anymore, like your energy just doesn't match. So like they kind of just fall off your path, and you start to attract better people. You start to attract people who are aligned with you, and that's what it means when your relationships start to shift. Number 6, you feel spirituality becomes an important part of your life. So once you get to that point where you feel like spirituality does become an important part of your life, you feel desire to do things that are considered spiritual practices, but they're actually really Hinduism and Buddhism practices. So you might be called to do a lot of yoga, meditation, journaling, spending a lot of time in nature, spending time by yourself, going on walks, bettering yourself. So you might be called to this point where you ask yourself, what is more important to me? What is more important into my life? Like your daily activities may change to the point where you're like, okay, the daily activities you used to do may not serve you anymore, so you kind of just let that stuff go as well as like your friends, and you start to do all these things that are these new activities and these new hobbies, and you have new hobbies and stuff, and you start to do that more every single day because you feel that you need to do that, and because it's a part of who you are now. You're more intuitive, and basically that means like you're more connected to your higher self. You listen to your intuition, you listen to the future version of yourself when it comes to making choices, and you start to listen to your intuition more. Number 8, you can sense inauthenticity and manipulation. So like you kind of are able to see who is really true to their authentic self and who is manipulating you, and you can also tell the difference to the people who are actually their true authentic selves and the people who aren't manipulating you. So like you're able to tell the difference when it comes to how people treat you. So when it comes to how people treat you, you might be more aware of like, oh, these people don't treat me so good, and you're very aware of that. And then you're very aware of the fact that these people treat you better, so you feel like you want to be around those people as well. Number 9, you realize everyone is on their own path. So you start to realize like you can't, when it comes to arguments and trying to convince other people from your point of views, that you can't convince them because they're not meant to be where you are at the time, because you guys are on different paths, and you realize that you don't want to fit in with everybody because you're on your own different path, and you decide that you're going to go down your path and you're not going to follow anybody else. Number 10, you want to be of service. So like you basically want to like help people more. You want to help your environment more. You want to be more like connected with your community, maybe people, and you might start to approach things differently when it comes to your community. You might kind of become like this teacher type of thing, like people might come to you for advice, and because people see you as this very wise and intelligent person. Number 12, you feel alone. So when you feel alone, you start to get to this point where you feel like you're so lonely because nobody understands you, and you get to this point where you spend so much time alone that people who used to be a part of your life don't really serve a purpose with you anymore, and you realize that being alone, you prefer being alone than being around people. You might feel more connected to the natural world. Like you might feel more connected to recycle more. You might feel connected to be out in nature more. You might feel connected to use organic products and maybe grow your own food. You might be drawn to do things the natural type of way. You might be drawn to living a natural type of life. You might be drawn to live outside of society standards because you would rather live maybe in the middle of the woods, in a cottage, or in a house up on the hill, and like a house in the middle of the fucking woods where nobody's around. You might be drawn to live far out from society. You might rather than being like in a neighborhood full of people, you might feel like you want to be out in the middle of the woods where nobody's at. Your senses are heightened. So basically, number 14, that means you're more aware of like the world around you. You're more aware of like you're hearing. You're able to hear things. You're able to see things better, hear things better. You're more aware of things in your surroundings. You're more aware of what is going on with people, and you might notice things on a deeper level than what most people do. Like you might be so aware of shit that you pay attention to what this person is doing, and you see that this person is like, maybe they're like, you notice that this person's anxiety is acting up and they're biting their nails or something, and they're not really aware that they're doing it, but you're aware that they're doing it, and you might be able to like connect with people, telepathy. You might gain that telepathy with people, and you might be able to like pay attention and hear what people have to say or what people are thinking. You may have more bodily senses. So basically that means like your body is also more aware of things in general. Like your body's heightened awareness is very like senses, maybe danger. Like your body is able to like, it's basically your anxiety telling you like, oh, I don't want to be around this person because their energy is just too much. You may have physical symptoms, and that is also part of it. And sometimes they could be medical symptoms, but if you go to the doctor and your doctor says nothing's wrong with you, then it's a spiritual symptom. There is a sudden change in your habits and routine. So your habits and routines may change as time goes on, and your day-to-day life habits and routines may be to spend more time in nature. You ditch your old habits because they no longer serve you, and they no longer serve a purpose in your new world. Your outlook on the world feels different. You might look at the world in a different way. You might be wondering why people do the things they do. You might look at the world at a deeper level, and that's only because you feel a different way about the world. You have an increase of empathy. So you feel like more for others. Like you can feel more for people suffering. You feel more like you might care more for people. You might feel more called to, you know, maybe ignore certain things because you can feel how a person's feeling. The next one, you display more compassion. So yeah, along with the empathy, you'll most likely be more kind-hearted, have more compassion towards others. You might feel like you feel so sorry for the world that you just can't help but just shine a bright light on other people rather than being rude and mean to people. And lastly, you may have found new curiosities within your life. Like now that you have awakened to your life, you might have this like childlike wonder and curiosity for the world around you, even when things get tough. And being able to stay curious about your life and the people in it, even when you're feeling emotional, is a sign of a spiritual awakening as well. So that is basically what the spiritual awakening is. There's different stages as well. You have the spiritual awakening, which is like you're being more into, you're kind of tapping in more to like things, you're changing your old beliefs, you're changing to new beliefs, like you're transforming your person, yourself. You're releasing things that no longer serve you to find these better things that serve you. The dark night of the soul, it's basically depression. So you're gonna go through many phases of depression. The sponge, basically awaken life. That's within the third phase, not the third eye, but like your habits and stuff will change. Excuse me, I just farted. You might like start getting into like Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff. The soul sessions, you've reached enlightenment. You haven't reached enlightenment yet, but you think you have, and you're kind of still going through like a whole soul growth. So like you're kind of you're kind of figuring out who you are at this point. And then eventually like you'll surrender to the whole entire process and you'll kind of just allow things to flow. And like I said, your awareness will be, you'll be more aware of things, and overall it's basically a whole self-discovery journey. So basically you'll go through a whole bunch of phases where like things won't serve you anymore. You're trying to figure out who you really are, and then you figure out who you really are, and that's when you've really reached your enlightenment, because you start to get to a point where you're aware that people around you aren't gonna understand you, and then you start to do different types of things. You might start to tap into your chakras, your third eye, your crown chakra, your throat, heart, sacral, solar plex, and your root chakra. You'll start to do meditation more. You might get into different types of meditations, but as you evolve spiritually, you not only will change the way you eat and stuff, but you'll discover that you have so many hidden abilities, such as psychic abilities, and that's what I'm supposed to talk about today. And the reason is because it's basically coming into who you really are. That's basically what the whole enlightenment thing is. That's basically what your psychic abilities are. Your psychic abilities are basically like you waking up spiritually. And once you start to get to more and more stages, you'll start to realize that everything that you're going through is basically a part of spirituality. Your psychic abilities, once you start to open your third eye, you'll have like headaches and feel nausea, and like you'll feel like so many weird types of symptoms, headaches and stuff. I'll go into a more detailed video another time. But when it comes to your psychic abilities, you can use candles to increase your abilities, the moon, stars, gazing at the moon and stars. You can use crystals. I'll also do a video on psychic abilities, like really do a video in depth about that. But I just wanted to do this video on spiritual awakening and all that type of stuff, and just wanted to let you know that psychic abilities are also a part of the spiritual awakening. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. that is what a spiritual awakening is. That is what it means to be enlightened. I'm gonna go into more details in other videos, but I hope you like this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna go chill. I'll see you guys later. Peace.